This is the Kiwi Ears Orchestra Lite. It features 8 custom balanced armature drivers, 2 tweeters for the treble, 4 mid-range balanced armature drivers for the mids, and 2 subwoofer drivers for the lows. The Orchestra Lite utilizes a 3-way passive crossover that you can see through these very transparent resin enclosures. This product was sent in for me to review for evaluation, but no funny business here. All thoughts and opinions are my own. In fact, I don't think I've heard from them since receiving it. So I guess sorry it took so long to get this out. Honestly, I think I unboxed these in the first week and was just met with a bit of disappointment. The sound I was getting was quite anemic, to tell you the truth, and I just didn't really vibe with it. But this one is on me, sort of. The tips that come with these were a bit of a struggle. I couldn't find comfort or a good seal, and it's likely to do with the nozzle size being a bit larger than what I'm accustomed to, and the included tips, and just how well they matched up to me, in particular. I almost always end up with the middle size for tips with these, and I just didn't expect to find the best fitment with the smallest tips. The small tip and the large nozzle combination totally changed the outcome for me. I still think these tips could be better. I mean, they definitely could be better. The material they're made from just isn't very forgiving in general. I just didn't get that mold into the shape of my ears effect. So basically what I'm saying here is it's always important to get a good seal, obviously, but in this case, I just found them to be a bit more picky. Due to various reasons like the shape and size of our ears, it's gonna vary a lot, so if you run into similar issues, really make sure you're getting a true fitment. Once the fitment was dialed in, the anemic characteristic I mentioned earlier was completely erased and everything really opened up. These might be a good opportunity to shop aftermarket tips as well. There's a lot of good options out there that should really simplify this. For testing today, I utilized a few different sources of amplification. Started with a simple Apple 3.5 to Lightning adapter, then to a Shithill 2, and finally another of their products, the new Midgard. Basically just chasing more wattage with each amp change. And I can tell you right now, it's not really needed. These do fine coming straight out of my phone. Did I think they sounded better with the Heller Midgard? Yeah, I think I did, but that's not exactly a portable solution either. IEM reviews like today just don't attract the same audience size as videos on things like speakers, streamers, and DACs. It just is what it is, but at the same time, I still enjoy mixing these in as it can become a bit repetitive to cover the same things day in and day out. I'd really appreciate it if you could throw me a like and subscribe. Help me to push videos out to a wider audience, because even if this video in particular isn't your primary focus, I have loads of great content on the way covering budget, high-end, DIY, and vintage, so let's grow this thing together. This won't be an overly long review today on the Kiwi Orchestra Lite, but I just want to key in on a few points that really might impact your decision to buy these, or in some cases pass. The packaging that these come in is pretty simple, maybe a little lackluster for the price. It's funny, but headphones and IEMs often go for these intricate boxes and packaging. Not entirely sure why, but they started it, so now I've come to expect it. I won't doubt it's some sort of psychology trick, sort of like a grand box to influence your thoughts into a grand product. Either way, this one has a simple black box, but inside it has a really nice looking product. And let's be honest, I'd much rather the money goes into the actual product than a box that has, well, tricks. These are made of epoxy resin, a clear design that looks really nice here, a lot of depth, and you can see all 8 of the armature drivers. Not that the number of drivers, 8 in this case, makes a difference to the actual sound performance. It's more so how it's implemented, but in this case, it's just kind of cool to see everything so clearly. The craftsmanship is really nice on these. They're not small, but the design is actually really ergonomic and rides in my ears without ever that extra feeling of weight. If I was shopping IEMs, what might make me pick up the Orchestra Lite today? I would say these are getting more into the entry point for high fidelity in-ear monitor sound. The soundstage is open and wide within the limits of what you'd expect from an IEM. It's not what I would consider a bass focused sound, nor is it really very bright. It works more within the space of mid-range focus and can be really pleasant to listen to for a lot of vocalists. It has the ability and dynamics to really hit when called upon, but I think it honestly would rather just hang out. Its go-to move is more so a refined smooth sound, more so than wild dynamic swings. The details are still there, mind you. I don't want you to give these a listen and think that I led you astray, but expect the details to arrive in a natural way, not overnight from UPS and thrown on your front step. Broken. Breaking down the sound further, the treble is what I would consider very nice at this price point. It's smooth but rich in detail. It's neither subdued or wildly sibilant. It's clear and concise and direct. Likely everything your significant other wishes you were. The The mid-range is where this IEM makes its money. Well, for the most part, the upper mid-range comes across as pronounced, a little bit forward, and really favors the vocalist. The edges that fatigue and tire you during a long listen are smoothed over, leaving you with a really solid performance with just the right amount of detail. The lower registries of the mid-range dip a bit and can, depending on the artist or instrument, come across a bit recessed. For the most part, vocal presentation was great. It just wasn't linear for some male artists. A minor fault, but just something I want you to know. At the same time, it may be completely intentional, as what this did accomplish was a great separation between the mids and the bass. Nothing sounded overly bloated, which I can really appreciate. This one has a really clear and clean transition from the lows and mids, so maybe I should just leave the criticism alone here, as in many ways the technical delivery of the mids is punching above its price point. The bass was much improved after finding the proper fit. A few reviews come across a little harsh in this area, and I honestly wonder if they were running into some of the issues that I was getting with the proper fitment. When these have the proper fit and seal, it's a really punchy, tight sounding bass. Not what I would call a bass head sound, but it certainly should please most. I felt like there was a lot of texture and detail to the sound. It's in some ways the perfect balance between the more detailed mids and highs. It's the high-end, well-regulated sound that gives you a great tonal balance. So what did they nail on this one, and where does it fall a little bit short? The design and look in these is top-notch. It's a beautiful product that lets you see under the hood while not succumbing to being a chrome fingerprint magnet. The included cable is really nice, and it's as good as I would need. I wouldn't really feel any need to upgrade here. It's flexible and it resists tangle well. These also have a sound characteristic that delivers a really nice listen across nearly all genres, especially those who prefer a little bit more of a mid-range focus. And lastly, I would say these are getting right around the tipping point of price to performance. You get a lot here as far as fidelity goes. You can certainly beat it, but it comes a game of spending a lot more to get small improvements. So what would I improve next time on these? First and foremost, it's the ear tips. With the nozzle size being a bit larger than I'm accustomed to, the fitment was just a bit trickier. They offered 3 options of tips, which is great, but you may want to go with an aftermarket route here and find a tip that really matches your preferences. And to be honest, most people serious about IEMs shop their own tips anyways. When you get that proper seal, it's a really great listen. The sub bass I'm going to mention here, but it's a soft mention. It rolls off a bit early, but for myself, it was perfectly acceptable for the majority of music that I listen to, and I listen to a pretty wide range. Just wanted to mention it in case you're the person really seeking out the deep bass here. Another item of note, not something I would improve next time, more so just an observation. These are not vented, so you may notice a bit of ear pressure. You get more and better isolation with these, but during your session, you may feel the need for adjustments here or there. I can say after listening to these over the past month that they continue to impress me. I'm so glad that I gave them another shot because I find myself reaching for these more often than I would have expected. Comfort, sonic fidelity are likely high on your list when you're shopping IEMs, and these were able to hit it head on. If you're the listener who prioritizes vocals but doesn't want something overly sharp, these might be an excellent option for you. And at the $250 price point, these appear to be highly competitive. There's a number of products around this price that don't really cover the bases as well as these. If the Orchestra Lites are in the range you're shopping, these should at least be in your consideration. As with nearly all products, there's a couple things to consider, but for the most part, these are a really solid performer. As always, I appreciate everyone who made it this far. Please like and subscribe so I can continue to push content out to a wider audience. We have over 100 videos at this point and cover everything from budget, high-end, DIY, and vintage, so stick around and see what comes up in the near future. The next video release will likely be a DIY CSS speaker build that can rival speakers costing multitudes more. So if that interests you, I'll see you then. Later.